welcome to Access Paranormal, and tonight we are joined by two ladies who we met who must be a year and a half ago. We've got Jennifer and Jill from Common Mystics. Yeah,
That's
and
right.
we captured them because they're not only the paranormal investigators, Jonathan, they are also now authors of their own book, which we can't wait to read. Yeah, isn't it called On the Road?
It's Common Mystic. Go ahead, Jen.
Common Mystics present Ghosts on the Road, Volume 1, Murders and Mysterious Deaths. Yes.
Brilliant. So I think we'll start with that.
Okay.
Because obviously it's brand new, and obviously we want to get as much promotion as we can out of this, can't we? So tell us how you, either one of you can answer this, tell us how you got about writing this book and how it came about.
Do you want to take it first, Jen?
Yeah, we have to start at the beginning. I have to tell you, Jamie and Jonathan, we were not looking to write a book. We are so busy with our day jobs and doing this podcast. It was something that we thought might be a possibility down the line. But I think what happened, quite honestly, is we accidentally manifested it. Swear to you. I think it was an accident. Because one day, Jill and I were drinking wine, sitting feet to feet on her couch, and just talking about what we needed. And we felt like we needed someone with connections in the publishing world who just believed in us, right? And wanted to invest in what we were doing. And we also knew it couldn't be another thing because we have too much going on. It had to be something that we already had to make work. And we wanted to incorporate our very good friend, Jenny Baker, because she is like myself. Another Jenny, yes. She is a teacher like myself. And I don't know what things are like in the educational system in the UK, but in America, it's just a mess right now, educationally. People like me who are old, who started teaching 30 years ago, things are so different now, you know? So anyway, we were just low key talking about, dreaming about, this is what we need, someone with, you know, money to invest and who believes in us. And Jill, what happened?
We got an email out of the blue from a publisher who starts the email saying that she's not a vanity publisher. And I have no clue what that means. So she wants, have you heard of such a thing, a vanity publisher?
No, I've never heard of it.
Apparently, we had to look it up. Apparently, a vanity publisher is someone who you can pay to publish your book, and then you can say you're a published author. So you could write a book, you could pay someone to publish it, and then you can say that you're an author, you have a published book, but you're an author because you paid someone to publish it, right? Which is not good or bad. It's just not something that we wanted to do. But anyway, continue.
So she said, you know, I'm interested in working with you guys. I heard one of your episodes and I think that this could be a book series. And so I got with Jennifer, and off the bat, of course, we're flattered, but there's no way we have the time to write a book. We just don't. So our conversation with her was going to be, thank you, we're flattered, but we just don't have the time. As soon as she got on the phone with us, her suggestion was to take our transcripts, which we already had from the podcast, and kind of rework them into a retelling of our favorite stories in different volumes.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea, though.
Right?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, in that same conversation, she asked if we knew someone who would be interested in editing the book. And of course, Jenny Baker dreams of being an editor, and it all just came together in one of those moments. I literally couldn't imagine that this would actually happen. So we went for it, and we're so excited to bring it to you guys. It's going to be available on Amazon July 1st, 2023. So.
Oh, fantastic. We've got to get it in. Yeah.
We're going to send you guys signed copies.
Oh, please.
Yes, for real.
Yeah.
Can you read some of them out on the show?
Oh my gosh, we would love it.
Oh.
So it, you know, it's written like a transcript in that it's Jen, Jill, but it's not just the transcript. Because you guys know when you're having a conversation, that's a very different thing than reading the written word.
Oh yeah. Have you ever thought of doing it? It's just an idea because this is what I'm thinking. Have you ever thought of doing it, of reading them and editing them like for audio, so somebody can, you know, like let's go on, people with visual issues could listen to it.
An
Yeah, I think,
audiobook?
yes.
Like Jonathan.
Stop. It is something that we're considering. We haven't gotten that far yet, but absolutely we would love to do that.
Yeah.
But what we realized right away is that sometimes Jen and I can be really silly on the podcast, and a lot of that didn't transfer to the written word.
Ah, right.
Yeah, we can be a little silly and kind of annoying. So we had to rework that out. And then we added
I know,
things
hard
that
to believe. It's hard to believe. We're so delightful.
Oh, look, he's disappeared. That's strange.
And then we added in what we learned from the experience. So how those experiences with the different voiceless spirits that had been coming to us, what we took away from it. And also we added what to know if you go. So if someone decided to go in our footsteps and to recreate our experience, we gave them tips on the area in the book so they can have the most pleasurable experience. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Look at that.
Yeah.
And we're like
And-
cowards. We say, you going out on your own this time? We both no.
Yeah.
He keeps disappearing. That's what he does on ghost hunts. He just disappears. Yeah. Tries to leave him on his own. Never works. So no.
See, we think you guys are brave because what we do isn't really ghost hunting. You know, like we don't go at night. But
Oh no.
right, our stories are more trying to our stories are more trying to tap into the spirits who have something to say.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes those spirits are spirits who, when they were alive, were downtrodden in some way, you know, like people who were enslaved, say. Sometimes those spirits are unsung heroes in history, people who did heroic, brave things, but just aren't remembered today. Sometimes they are people who are misunderstood. And these are the people that Jill and I don't like. Sometimes a spirit comes through that we don't trust and we don't like. A lot of times they're criminals or they did something nefarious while they were alive and they want to tell their version. They don't like the way their reputation is currently in the media. And so they'll come through. And then we also have situations where someone will come through about something that is already well known, a situation that was highly publicized in an area, to set the facts straight for us. So sometimes there's, you know, we try to still tell stories about things that people don't know about generally, but sometimes there is an event, you know, and famous people, but there's another angle maybe that has been lost to history. So that's really, it's not a ghost hunting book. It's more about tapping into spirits who have something to say. And it's also about the reader learning from us, because we are modeling how we are using our senses to tap into that knowledge that's there, that we believe everybody can tap into. And then there's always a lesson there, not only for us who went through the experience, but for the reader, because all of the stories have some sort of relevance today in some way, shape, or form.
And these are not stories that we choose. Literally, Jennifer and I get in the car and we set the intention that we're asking the spirits to lead us to a verifiable story previously unknown to us that give voice to the voiceless. So it's a contract that we're making deliberately, intentionally with spirit. So if something comes our way and we're experiencing it, we're writing it down and then we're doing the research. And at times ourselves are very uncomfortable about some of the things that we're finding that we're put in a position to give voice to. And it just is what it is. So it could be a learning experience.
It is a bit like Randonautica then, in a way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what it comes down to, if you're just getting in the car and you're going to set your intent, and then you get something through it, and then you go to that place that comes to you, or whatever situation it is.
Yes.
It's a similar type of thing, really. But you're
Right.
literally just using your senses.
Exactly. We're not using an
Exactly.
app. It's all coming from.
It's just you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I've been I've been listening to some of you listening to quite a few of your podcasts now, and you probably
Thank
see
you.
that there's little likes coming up in the from Access Paranormal. It's usually me going like because I like.
Oh, thank you.
You're so kind.
Well, I noticed that, and it's going off the subject a little bit. I noticed there was one about Jill and one about Jenny, and I went,
Yes.
now let's have a listen to these then. Bang bang. So I thought I'll have to listen to these. So I had a good listen to them. They were funny. It was sad. I mean, some of it was quite sad what you were saying as well. And some of the places you've lived is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go into the personal stuff because it's out there if anybody wants to listen to that. It's
Sure.
there. But for you to go through all that and carry on doing paranormal investigation as well, I'm thinking, oh my God. So do you think, I know I'm coming to the question is, do you think your personal life has, how do you word it, made you stronger to be able to do this? Because the way you've come across anyway is very strong anyway, and you're very close, even though you weren't very close at one time.
That's true.
You're very well bonded together. Do you think your personal life, in the spiritual way, is what's happened to you in your personal life has brought you back again closer, and you've started. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've been away, you've come back together again, and that bond. Like I'm a twin. I've got a brother. I'm a twin, and even though I've not seen him for a few years, when I was younger, I used to be able to pick up on things because he used to have epileptic fits, and I knew when they were coming on before it happened. Is that the similar to you? I know that's just a little basic example. I use the saying, just pick up things together. When you're out and about, do you like pick up what you're picking up, Jill and Jenny? Do you get what I mean? I know
Jennifer has this weird ability that her husband and I both have experienced, this phenomenon where Jennifer's voice will come to us randomly. So I will hear Jennifer when she's not there. So I will hear Jennifer just randomly saying Jill or a message for me, and I'll know to call Jennifer because I can hear her. She needs to get it fixed, whatever it is, because it's quite unnerving.
You can use block.
Block. You can block me.
Saging my house.
It's funny because our foundation was our mother and our grandma. And you can go back, we talk about them in early episodes, and it was important to get that out because that's how we learned through their modeling. They were both very much into the paranormal and also Catholicism and also psychic abilities, right? So we kind of got it all. And then our lives, as you indicated, our home life was fraught with a good deal of trauma. Okay. And I don't think that it's unusual. Everybody has their own type of trauma, right? Some people are going through trauma right now. I believe that's why we're here on earth. We are given challenges because it's only through our challenges that we learn and how to grow and succeed. Or sometimes, we don't always learn the lessons we're supposed to learn. But in terms of Jill and me, it's really funny because this is a strong bond. You're right. And I'll tell you, Jamie and Jonathan, it takes work. It takes work every day. It really does. It's a conscious effort to work on this relationship. It really is. It does not, I don't know, Some things I think are getting easier, but when you work with your sister and you're working on things like psychic ability, which is extremely vulnerable, right? Extremely vulnerable. And also it's inner work, isn't it? It's inner work. When you are a psychic, you have to be very conscious of your own thoughts, feelings, ideas, emotions, right? It's a lot of inner work. And so when we've been through as children so much trauma, that gets brought up now, right? As we continue to work. So it's a constant, and it's good. It is good. It's part of our journey, but it's not easy, you know. But I'm tickled to see that it appears easy.
We get that a lot. A lot of people will comment like, "Oh, I wanted Jennifer." That they will say that to me. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I love Jennifer and I appreciate her. But, you know, I think the reality of the situation is that I love my sister. She's my older sister. I learned everything from her at a very young age. What is surprising to me as an adult is like now she's quoting me. Now there's like this value that she sees in me that sometimes it kind of makes me suspicious. I'm like, what did you do? You know, like why are you being so nice right now? Like it's just you, because usually when
sitting there listening.
exactly, it's when you're talking to strangers, you can take what they say at face value. When you're talking to your sister or your sibling, you're like, oh, they mean this. Like you think you know what's happening in their head. And that is always an obstacle for me when I'm like, wait a second, I don't know what she's saying. I just have to look at her at face value and take it as it is and just navigate that way.
Yeah.
So, but it makes me a better psychic, a better sister, a better wife, because I have to stop and listen more. So all this work that we're doing, I hope we bring it to our community as a whole in our lives, because I do think I'm learning a lot about what it is to be a better person, a stronger woman, and a supportive sister.
When you listen to your, I love doing this because he keeps disappearing. Look.
I'm gonna get a cross out, Jamie. It's like Jonathan's haunting you.
He always haunts me, don't you, Woody? What's good with you as well is when you listen to your podcast, you always seem enthusiastic. You always seem happy. And you bounce off each other. When you listen to him, you bounce off each other as well, which is brilliant. You know, I'll be honest with you, I listen to him quite often when I'm getting sorted for things, and I just come on, Mystics, put you on and have a listen to that.
Thank you.
So many outs. You know, so many outs. Yeah, we've even if you go onto the YouTube channel, we've actually put a thing on to, you know, where you have your favourites. And we put you on there because we're trying to. Well, you know.
Thank you.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think they're fantastic. The way you've done them, they're very enjoyable. And why aren't you subscribers going over to these Mystics? Because they're just
you know, this past episode that we just put out yesterday, I find it so amusing because it's actual conversation that Jennifer left in. That's really Jennifer and Jill talk. So I was surprised to hear it and it made me chuckle. So I like when because Jen's our editor. So I like it when she surprised me to leave these things in. So.
Well, sometimes move forward a bit. See if I can get you on the screen. It just looks like your head. There you go. That's better, isn't it? There you go. But we get on great with each other. Yeah. We abuse each other all the time. We're always each other. But in a banter way, you know, I tell everybody he's my dad. Yeah. Sometimes, we call him Jonathan Chalmers. Now, there's a woman over here called Judith Chalmers who used to go on holiday all the time. That's him. Are we going out next week? No, I'm going to Portugal with my mum. No, I'm going here. So sometimes I'm left on my own, to do the radio show. So we record a lot of investigations. So I sometimes introduce the beginning of it and the end of it, or I'll go and interview someone, like you know, when he's away. I'll go to a ghost hunt and interview them. And was it one? You just come back off your holiday, hadn't we? We were in Mill Street Barracks. And I said to the girl, Jonathan's back off his holidays. When we come down into the cellar, just say, oh, Jamie's here with his dad, but I never told Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
So when we went down to the cellar, she went, oh, Jamie's just coming to the cellar now, and he's with his dad, Jonathan. And we were recording that for the radio, so that went out everywhere.
Wow.
So yeah, but we,
Even though he's older than me. Yeah, you are.
yeah.
So how do you two decide where you are going to go to investigate? Because Jill and I just get in the car and we feel where to drive. But how do you choose your locations?
It's we ad lib, don't we? We think we look at the weather.
Yeah.
Well, because
Smart.
you know, if we're outdoor and it's lashing down with rain, we think where can we go indoor?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we work that way, don't we?
We do. We try and find, I mean, most of the indoor places, a lot of people are doing all the time. And they also want a lot of money to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And as this is only, it's only a hobby for us. So we don't make any money out of it. So we try and find interesting places. We'll try and find the outdoor places.
Yeah.
And that's, as Jamie said, that's weather dependent. Because usually
Yes.
it's rain.
Have you, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but have you felt like there has been like what I call a hitchhiker spirit that follows you after leaving a location? Have you experienced that?
Not really, no.
You had an experience years ago, didn't you? Where you thought there was someone in the back of your car.
Yeah, there was me and my partner, her family, or one of her daughter had a house. I won't say where or anything like that. And there was an issue there. We had to get somebody in to try and do a clearance. So anyway, one night I was sitting there. I thought, I'll mind the little one while they were out, and they were getting out. So I minded the little lad. And while we were there, I never thought anything of it. I thought his dad had come in, and I heard the footsteps coming through into the main hall. I thought, he's going to jump out on me and frighten me, because that's what we do. And
it's easy with him.
Yeah.
He frightens very easily.
That would be me.
Yeah, so do I.
I've actually jumped with my own reflection in the mirror, and didn't know there's a mirror there. And anyway, I was sitting there and I thought, he's not come in. So I went out and I was going, where are you? You know, like that. Nothing. There was nobody in the house at all. So I sat back down, and you could actually see the stairs from where I was sitting in the living room. I could see the stairs because the door was open. And it went totally black. You couldn't see the stairs or anything like that. So that's when I thought, this isn't right. So I got the little lad and I said, yeah, sit next to me and we'll chat and that. So I got him to sit next to me and everything. And it still didn't feel right. So I thought, this is not right. So I rang the person while we were there. You need to move forward again, John. He keeps disappearing. And that's better. And I rang this person up and they said, right, okay then. And I was explaining everything, what was going on. And it was pretty worrying. And as she was explaining everything, Marie and her daughter come back. So I said, I'll ring you back in a minute. Let me just sort some things out. But by that time, the stairs had come back into everything and everything else and that. So I didn't say too much to them with the kid, with the little one being there. And anyway, I did start explaining what had happened and that. And he said, right, okay then. We've been seeing these things have been happening in the house.
Oh.
So we decided that a clearance is needed. So we got the person to come down to the house, and he said, this is pretty heavy in this.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got it all cleared, it was about a week later, we got it cleared and everything else. And it was weird because when they were on the stairs, somebody made me go up the stairs. Yeah, I didn't even want to go up the stairs at this situation.
Yeah.
So I went up on all fours and stretched as far as I could, you know. So anyway, we get out and I'm going home. And suddenly my car felt really heavy. I felt there's something in the car with me, and I was getting really a bit scared because I'm driving. Anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and I don't shout and I don't scream or anything like that. And I just shouted, get out, wherever you are, get out my car now, get out. And I stopped the car while I done it because I thought, I'm driving. If anything happens, I don't want to injure myself or injure anybody else. And all of a sudden, it was just weird. The whole car changed. It was just like dead relaxed again in the car. But I felt as if there was something in the back of the car. I didn't even want to look in the mirror. And I've never, ever had that experience in my life.
Wow.
And it never happened to me again after that. So I was quite happy about that, obviously. Sorry. No, I've disappeared. Okay. Coughing disappear. Keep coughing. I'm enjoying this with others.
Is black? I'm sorry. Is the blackout entities, is that indicative of something of a lower vibration, or do you see that commonly?
I've never seen that. Well, we've seen things like that happen before. We've seen
it on investigations where like a room, where we'll be sitting there in the dark. But once your eyes have adjusted to the dark, you can sort of see in like black and white.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it will go pitch black, and you're like, that shouldn't happen because your eyes have adjusted and nothing's changed to make that darkness.
No.
Sorry. And it can come in and then go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you know something's there. You know something's coming to that room and something's passing through.
Usually
wow.
I just go.
You know, I have to ask this question because Jill and I, we have our Patreon. We have our Patreon page, and people, you know, sign up at different levels. But at our top level, we're kind of using them as guinea pigs. We've created
don't
and they're paying for it. No, just kidding. No, we're creating an assessment of abilities, right? And then we're taking their assessment results and we are creating activities and different instruction that we can then, you know, deliver for them. But one of the things that Jill and I feel really strongly about is right now, currently, we don't have a whole lot of technology that can measure some of these things that the human body can sense, right? I mean, we've got the voice recorders, we've got some different, you know, fancy gadgets that I know I can't afford. But what we really are interested in is how these experiences, like the one you just described, how they manifest for you. So what does that feel like when you are in a room and that blackout presence, like physically, how do you know it is there? What comes into your mind? What physically happens to your body?
I'll tell you what exactly.
How do you know?
Remember the classroom? Remember that night in the classroom?
In Mill Street? Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, because we were both in the classroom in Mill Street. Was Marie downstairs?
Marie's got no fear. She'll go anywhere on her own.
She went off on her own.
Yeah. She'll go down in the cellars and anything on her own. She's got no fear.
Oh, wow.
In this classroom. So we're sitting in this classroom and you could clearly see like shadows on the wall.
Oh, on the left of me, weren't they?
Yeah. But after a few minutes, it was like they were like closing in on us, and they were going around and around. It was like they were really closing in.
Yeah.
It really wasn't very nice at all. It was quite frightening.
Yeah. Didn't we have walkie-talkies because Marie went off on her own?
She'd gone off into the hall or the cellar or something.
Yeah.
Do you have an emergency brake, like in those situations where you're feeling enclosed by spirit? Do you have a way to be like, oh, time out? Like,
No.
Oh
No,
my!
they just didn't.
I'm sending you guys St. Michael pendants.
We just go for it, don't we?
Just until like we're that frightened, we'll just go and leave.
Sometimes we've gone into buildings and we've just turned around and said, don't think so.
Yeah.
Something tells us not to do it tonight, so we'll avoid it.
You can feel
it. That's what we want to know. What is it that you're feeling when you walk in and you're like, nope?
You can feel it's like it's really heavy.
Mhm.
I don't know. You can just sense it. You can sense the heaviness in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And you just know something is there. Something else is with you, and something else is there.
The basic way to explain when that happens is when you go to someone's house and you've had a bit of an argument and things like that, and they come across and they're really nice and that like that, you know there's something.
But you know they've just
Yes.
5 minutes before.
Yeah, and that's the only way I can explain when we go to these places what it's like.
That's a great explanation. That's actually something that we say all the time.
The same exact example. When you two are obviously very intuitive, that you're able to pick up on these energies, because a lot of people don't. But my question is, have you ever experienced information pop into your head during times like this? Is spirit sending you information? Because that's what happens to us. We are often in situations where we feel that energy and it feels heavy, almost like jello, almost like static electricity, but heavy, like to move through the space. And that's often when we'll get images in our head or voices. We'll sometimes hear a voice.
I think we've had two experiences of that, haven't we?
I'll tell you the best one. Well, and it's happened twice to me.
See, I'm not surprised.
Exactly the same image each time, and I have no idea what it means.
Well, what's the image?
I'll tell you what we could see. We could see the auras, the colours. We can see in like blues and greens, mainly blues and greens that I see. It's just with your eyes open in a dark room.
Yeah.
You can see the glow.
Yes.
And I've had it twice now in different places, and I get a vision of rooftops. What I could explain, like being in like New York, you got really high-rise buildings. You're sort of like above them and looking down on them, like looking down a really long street. And I've had that same image twice, exactly the same all the time.
Have you ever been to New York or in a place similar that would have that kind of vantage point?
No, not really, no.
It happened in two different locations, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Two different locations. Wow, interesting.
The same image. Exactly the same image.
They're definitely trying to tell you something. Do you remember in either of those instances what you were experiencing otherwise? Were you content? Was it just another day, or was there something different about either or both experiences?
It was an investigation that we were doing. It's when we were doing like an investigation. But it's like you're sitting there and you're sort of, I'd say, well, I don't know. Is your mind being taken over, or are you just that concentrating that much in the dark, and then the orders come through? It's always like blue and green, and then that image starts to come through.
Do you remember the one? Sorry, Jenny. Sorry, Joe. Do you remember the one when we were in Mill Street Barracks and me and you were in the middle room in the cellar, and we were both seeing the same thing? We were both picking up on the same thing, the colours and everything else. And it's very strange. Was it the little cellar? It was the little cellar. Ah, the little cellar, yeah. There's two cellars at Mill Street.
Oh, no, because I've been in the middle one. No, that's when I was with Marie. And you were sat on the other side. You weren't well. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Oh, he's disappeared. Look at that. Yeah. Good fun, that.
Yeah, that was another one, wasn't it? Yeah. No,
yeah, we've got a couple.
I remember, yeah.
I think the weirdest one I've ever had, and it must be 5, 6, 7 years ago, Jonathan, was when we were in the boiler room at Mill Street. Don't forget, I've been there 12 years, so I've made them disappear. Oh, let's see if I can do it again. When I was at Mill Street, I've been there 12 years, so I have countless of investigations there, and I've had so many experiences there personally. I could literally write a book on the stuff I've had at Mill Street. And if you remember rightly, Jonathan, we were in the boiler room. I think there was me, you, Jane, I can't remember who else was there. No, it's just me, Eugene, Liz,
Bill.
and Bill, and I felt like something. And I'm no medium. I'm nothing like that at all. But this night, I felt like I was seeing everything from this person's view. I've never experienced it since.
Yeah.
And it was, and I kept saying to them, I don't think I can see things. It's not me. It was like they were controlling what I was seeing. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
And I couldn't get my head around it, because I was saying, I'm conscious, I can see everything I'm doing, I know what I'm saying, that, but I'm saying what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing is not through my eyes, it's through the eyes of someone else. And it was a really, really strange experience that. I've never had it since, and I don't really want to have it again.
Yeah.
But it was just one of them moments. I think it was about 10, 15 minutes it was going on like that. And
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, and it was like one of them things. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, okay, I feel all right now. I'm back.
We had quite a few experiences in that room, though, didn't we?
But we had the hand.
The hand.
Everyone
We
was
tell you about that hand.
Tell us again.
Go for it, Jonathan.
So we were sitting in this boiler room. It's probably the same, like 4 or 5 of us again. And between Liz and Jane, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this hand sort of came through.
Like that now.
Like
that was
that
a prime
now.
example. That was.
No, really, it sort of came in between them.
Oh, that's not okay.
I describe it as a very old lady's hand.
Whoa.
It was really, really weird. But it came through like that, and then it went. It just went. And then we were asking for it again, weren't we?
Yeah.
And it's like just a small table we have in front of us, like chairs round it. It's only like a rectangular table. But you were asking out for it again, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
And it came down from just like
that.
It's like on like the ceiling. You can see that like the floorboards above, if you like, and then you've got the beams. And we have a bell hanging off it. And this hand came down like that.
Go again, John. Do it again.
No.
Yeah, it came down. Sort of came down like that anyway. It sort of came down like that from the bell.
That was it, yeah.
It was the same hand, and it looked so real.
Yeah.
It was the strangest thing I've ever seen like that. Really.
It seems like the Mill Street Barracks, it feels like there's like many different spirits coming through there. It feels almost like a train station. It's like new people. It's like they're all going through there for some reason.
You should say that, Jill, because we've had there's been a couple of mediums there, hasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them have said exactly the same thing about the cellar. There's one that's quite famous from like where we live. David Trainer. He's quite famous over the UK, this part of the UK. And when he went down there, he said it's like a thoroughfare for spirits. And they're all going from one end to the other, and they're all passing through and going through.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what he said.
I know that, like, it seems like you guys, and I remember this from our last conversation, that there's a friendlier spirit that you guys are familiar with, but it also feels like there is like literally it feels like a pass through for some reason. It's fascinating to me that you guys don't identify as psychics, because what Jonathan's saying is that he's clairvoyant, he's seeing things. What Jamie's experiencing is not only clairvoyance, but also clairaudient. That happens to me a lot. And mediumship. So if you guys thought about it and paid attention, you would be getting more of those awarenesses. You would be able to activate it, translate the messages, and then communicate. So you don't have to be afraid. And in Jonathan's, and I don't think you are afraid, but in Jonathan's example, you can ask, like, what are you trying to show me?
Yes.
Show me in a different way, because I'm not
getting me in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is. I don't know where it is.
I feel like I'm talking with a ghost, and
And I don't know why. I don't know whoever it is, whoever showed me that image.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're showing me it. I just don't understand it.
In my perspective, it's a good thing to have a higher elevated point of view. So don't be afraid, even if it's symbolic and it's not a literal place, just know whatever you're seeing, it's from an elevated place, a place of a higher viewing point. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. It doesn't frighten me. It doesn't bother me in that sense. Things like that. It doesn't. If you hear something or anything like that, it doesn't bother me.
No. We've got to admit, we do get scared in places.
We've been very scared in some places.
Sure.
Us too.
2 tenths. It's like frighteningly tense.
I think the big example of was I'd done an interview when we used to have a little studio in Mill Street Barracks, and I'll quickly tell you because I've told that many times on the radio, people will be going like that. Turn off. I was interviewing a lad called Sean who was with Dark Terrace. You know, it's fascinating watching Jonathan disappear. And when I was interviewing him, everything happened that night. It was the most frightening night I've had there.
Yeah.
And what was happening, I was getting knocks. The room went freezing cold. Something walked past the window. The door opened. We could hear voices. I heard footsteps going across the main hall. And I mean, I was on my own then doing the interview. The interview is out. If you go onto the radio station, the radio one on YouTube, Access Paranormal Radio, I think it's number 13.
One of the early ones.
Yeah, I think it's number 13, an interview with Sean Kenner. And if you listen to that, it's a 2-hour one, but you'll hear me saying, I've got this, I've got that. Do you want to carry on with this at home? And he says, no, carry on now, you're a paranormal investigator. And I always turn around and I'm here on my own. And I was there till 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was the scariest time I've ever had. And I rang you up, didn't I? And I was like, Jonathan, do you fancy being my co-host on the show?
You first.
And that's why he's here now. You know, we do everything together now with Paranormal. And Marie Jones is on everything as well. Obviously, she's downstairs. She's just come back off another one who's been on holiday. So, so.
Have you ever encountered someone who is just inherently a non-believer or haven't experienced these things? And have you ever just dropped them off at the Mill Street Barracks and be like, I'll come back in an hour, explore, and give them the opportunity to have these experiences? No.
The only ones we have was Paranormal Lockdown when we had Katrina and Nick off. I mean, I have to let them in and out all the time. And I just left them to it. And they actually stayed there for the full 72 hours in that building.
I've seen all of, they don't do those anymore. They don't do Paranormal Lockdown anymore. Unfortunately, it was my favorite. It was my favorite paranormal investigative show. And I'm sure I've seen that one, the Mill Street Barracks. I'm sure I've seen it because I've seen them all. How cool that you were behind it. You were the one. You were the one interacting with them.
I mean, in fact, we interviewed Katrina at Christmas. That's up on YouTube as well. And she was fantastic, and she remembered everything. In fact, I think we were talking to her an hour before we actually done the interview. Have you got you can't see yet. No, I've gone.
Oh,
yeah, you can't see. I think thing's too big. And they loved it. They said it was fantastic, and they said if they can, they're going to return. But obviously, Paranormal Lockdown's gone now, which is a shame because they were brilliant.
It is.
But if you get a chance to watch that YouTube, if you get to watch that one, it's really good what they've done. They loved it. Yeah.
Well, now she's on Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne. Maybe they'd come.
Yeah, that's gone now as well. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she's got her own one on now. If you go onto YouTube and put in Katrina Weidman, she's actually got her own one there. and that is really good to watch as well.
Okay.
Oh,
So yeah,
We love her. She's a doll, honestly.
we
Couldn't
had
be a
her on
nicer.
one of ours.
yeah,
And Jack Osborne was quite good.
He was on it.
He was. I was kind of surprised about that. I didn't know what to think about Jack Osborne being a paranormal investigator, but it worked.
It did, and he's brilliant.
Well,
He was
Yeah.
fantastic with it,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what I liked. He was honest with his synopsis of everything as well. He
Yeah.
went in level-headed and walked away level-headed, which was great.
Yeah, I agree.
But
It was
there's
it was really good.
There's a lot of entertaining ones out there. There's a lot of rubbish, and that's no disrespect to anybody, but there's ones out there that wouldn't even entertain.
for entertainment purposes,
They are for
as
entertainment.
they say.
I was going to ask you a question.
Sorry.
When you go out and about,
Mhm.
and you know, you obviously people come along and ask you what you're doing and things like that. Do you ever get people? You don't get people asking you what you're doing. I can tell by Jill's face. Then
We're pretty
We
good at,
avoid people.
yeah, we're pretty good at playing it off. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah,
We're very charming.
Mhm.
We get away with a lot because we're very we're not completely honest, but we're very friendly.
Mhm.
So if we see someone, we will approach them and start up a conversation and start asking them questions. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But what was your full question, Jamie?
I was going to ask, did they ever, like, once you start talking, they say to you, like, "Oh, we've got a story. Can we tell you and tell you the stories?" Do you find that like us?
The first
know-
episode that we
Yes.
did, that's exactly what happened. We stumbled into a library that used to be someone's home, and a young lady had passed away in the house by her own hand or suspicious circumstances. So when we walked into the library, this one patron of the library, this young lady said, "Are you here because of the legends?" And we were like, oh my God, this is working, because it was our first ever episode, our first ever attempt. And
Right.
it was just very cool.
Yeah, and we obviously didn't know anything about any of this when we were investigating. We were just following our feelings, our psychic abilities, our spideys, as we like to call them. Ended up in this renovated old Victorian home that's now a library. Come to find out that there are legends surrounding the hauntings there because of that death. We had no idea.
You call your paranormal stories legends in the building, where we call them ghost stories. Do you call them legends?
What do we call them?
You know what? I think we just call them stories of the
Yeah, they're just
voiceless.
stories.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? A lot of them ties into what's happening now. And what's also interesting is what we're finding. It seems as if before we plan a trip, before we know where we're headed, before we get in the car, it seems as if spirits know where we're going and the stories they want us to tell, because there seems to be a theme, and we seem to be pulled into situations that they want to add on to what we've already spoke about. It really is something. We're learning a lot about how time is working, or how we thought time was working.
Yeah. You think
It's very different.
think the sort of following you around then? So when you're thinking of,
You know, Jonathan, this is the best way I can describe it. My husband and I had found these old stamps in a house. It was a United States postal stamps from the early 1900s. And I had a conversation with my husband about if we should sell these stamps and put them on eBay. Then just a couple weeks later, I booked this reading for like a group party where I go in and I sit in a room for 4 hours and different people come in and I read for them. When I was doing that experience, spirit of this woman's husband said to me, "Oh, I could have helped you with those stamps." Just out of the blue. And it was so interesting because when I had the conversation with my husband, it was before I knew I was going to do this party. I've never met this woman before. So it seems like they know my past as well as my future, because there would be no reason. it's I don't know how to describe it, but I know that there is a knowing in a 360 point of view that I myself am not privy to, but they are.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
No, that's good. That's a good way to describe it.
And
Yeah.
when you go out, how often do you go out? Because I mean, you've got that many podcasts. I think you're out all the time.
We learned that a really efficient way to do this is to go on one long road trip. Just put aside 3 or 4 days, get in the car and just take notes, take copious notes of everything we're feeling. Jill is great with the camera. So Jill is the photo documenter. She documents on her and I take the notes, right? And so then when we get home, you know, we're still working through notes that we took when, Jill, November?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're still going through, we have sometimes 20 pages of notes. And so that's when we do the research, you know, so that seems to be more efficient because we can work off of those experience and those notes for, I mean, the good part of a year really, and keep getting more and more stories. But I think the other thing is spirits just aren't coming to us when we're on the road. They are, but they continue when we're doing the research. So we depend on them to leave us breadcrumbs as we're, you know, online at newspapers.com, you know, trying to figure out of the thousands of articles, which one is going to point us in the right direction. And they are.
And it must be nice though when you get that coming through and then you get that confirmation.
Yes.
What you picked up. You know, when
yes.
you get that confirmation, that must be a real good feeling.
It really,
It's
you know, and
exciting.
we never take it for granted. Every single time we're always like,
we're always surprised, mind blown.
You know what else is happening right now, and this is a new thing. It seems like spirits are inspiring other people to get a hold of us for a story. So I don't know. Jen, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
This is so crazy. One of our listeners had an experience in a state. I'm not going to say that. I don't want to give too much away because, you know, it's his story, not ours. He had an experience, and so he thought it was odd. He knew of us. He had heard of our podcast. He had listened before. He had an experience while he was on vacation with his family, forgot about it. Then he was asleep one night and he woke up in the middle of the night to a spirit standing at the foot of his bed. And the spirit told him that he needed to tell the story of the experience he had on vacation. And then the spirit showed him a picture of our podcast and told him to contact us for help telling the story.
That's a good advert, that from the spirits.
That's good PR. That's good marketing right there. So yeah, that actually, and so he sent us a long email and we read it and our minds were blown. Like, wow, spirits know about us and are telling people about us. Thank you.
But if you're out and about, surely they go, oh, you know, like, we'll tell them the story. They seem to be interested. Because you've got to have. It's like us, we've got to share our story. You can't just keep them to yourself. You share them. Yeah. So that was their way of saying, look, give it to these. These have been nice to me. Yeah. So that's how I look at it anyway. So,
crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, I feel like we're constantly learning through this. What we thought reality was is different now, having been through all of these experiences. You know, the way we think about time, the way we think about spirit and how it works, it's always growing and always changing. So, and
even the
good
way
thing about,
I'm sorry, even the way we are engaging with spirit is changing. And it's just having that awareness, like, oh, this is different now. This is how it's manifesting to communicate. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say that we're lucky because I'm not a big journaler, because we always say, if you want to learn from your experience, you have to journal them. I'm not a big journaler, but you know what? This whole podcast, it's kind of like our diary, because we
Mhm.
talk about what we're experiencing along the way. So
Yeah.
it's all documented, you know?
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that when we were doing the book, reflecting on everything we'd learned was a real gift to us. And then being able to put that in the pages for our readers, you know?
But don't you find working with the paranormal is like a continuous education?
Yes.
You know, when you think you know enough, there's another surprise around the corner. And I think it's like being in university continuously. You know, there's no end to it, which you don't want an end to it,
That's
because
right.
it's there. You know, and obviously when I'm gone, or whenever we go, we're going to be in that realm, and we'll be able to come back. I'll be able to come back and haunt him. And, you know, it's like it. I feel we're being educated for our next lives. We're
Mm.
tapping into something that we're going to be. It's inevitable. We're all going to be there one day, and I think it's like TV. The only way I explain it is TV. They put things in programs to get your mind used. You know, Star Trek, for example, mobile phones. Beam me up, Scotty. Remember the little things?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They came out mobile phones. There's so many things that I think they put into these programs for you to get used to. You know, because it'll come out flat screen TVs. You know, we used to have the TV programming called Tomorrow's World, and used to show you them all before they came out as for us. Yeah. And I think that's what happens we're in the paranormal world. We're in touch with them in some way or another. They're trying to get in touch with us. I'm sure it's like the film, The Others. You know.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's a great one. You know, I feel like modern people don't have the same experience with the dead as past generations. Like back hundreds, maybe 1,000 years ago, your loved ones were buried underneath your house, right? You prepared them yourself for burial. You relied on your ancestors for wisdom and strength. And modern day people have, and a lot of Western cultures have that separation. And I feel like because of that, we do have a lot of paranormal curiosity, and we want to have those interactions that we're missing as a Western society.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, just so you know, we're coming up to the end of the radio show now, and podcast. Before we do stop, what I need you to do is explain where you can get your book when it comes out, what it's called, and also where your podcast can be heard. That would be great if you could do that for us.
Sure.
One-
I'll do the book.
Do you want to go first with the book?
Yeah, I'll go first with the book. Once again, the title is Common Mystics Present Ghosts on the Road, Volume 1, Murder and Mysterious Deaths. Actually, it's Murders and Mysterious Deaths. And it will be available on Amazon.com starting July 1st, 2023. Although you can pre-order a Kindle version right now.
Fantastic.
And
So check out our website. Check out our podcast on our website, commonmystics.net. You can find us on the socials at Common Mystics Pod. You can tune in and listen in to our podcast on wherever you're hearing your favorite podcasts. And if you would be so kind, please leave us a positive review wherever you're listening.
And I highly recommend them because I listen to them.
Oh.
So,
Well, we love you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so
two
much.
are the best.
and we've got to talk to you anyway. But I've got to say thank you, Jill and Jennifer, all the way from America, for coming onto the podcast. I'd also like to thank me ghost next to me here, Johnson. It's the only time he ever disappears.
Keep dropping in and out.
So we appreciate your time for coming on the show. And from everybody, we hope you've enjoyed it. And from Access Paranormal, we'll see you again next week. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Thank you.